Hi all, thanks for tuning into the market wrap and not a bad day of trade, huh? Considering that TCS came off from the highs of the day, but we still ended up about what 0.75% higher. So that's not too bad for markets. Let's just quickly first have a look at all that's happened and I'll share a few thoughts and of course look at the global markets before we wrap up. So first, what the stocks did, right? Wipro on that buyback news up about 7%, really sharp up move there for that one. You had some strong moves today in like pharma names as well, because I think Sun Pharma, Cipla, Divi's, Reddy's, even the mid cap side, a clutch of names moved up. Cadila, for example. So there are a lot of pharma names and IT names moving up in the session today. As you look at 7 out of the 10 names belong to IT and pharma. Actually, 8. The only 2 exceptions out there, as I can see, are Ultratech Cement and HDFC Bank. That tells you a story, isn't it? It was a big fat IT pharma day. What didn't do well? Well, ONGC came off a little bit. I think there was a CLSA note today which said that everything that comes in from gas is already priced in for ONGC and the likes. So GAIL, ONGC both came off in the session. RI had a bit of an iffy day today, but that's okay. It can certainly have because it's had a good run off late. So going good for the sectors which have got tailwinds. Though I must say that it was restricted to IT and pharma because I don't think too many specialty chemicals, which is the third pocket which actually gains a lot usually, had any kind of moves. In fact, let's get in the broader end of the move and you will see what I'm talking about, because I don't think we saw the specialty chemical names have some traction today. It was again restricted to large cap IT or mid cap IT, mid cap pharma. Look at that. Just dial 12%, RT drugs up about 8%, emphasis about 5.5%, Cadila about 5.5%, Mindtree about 5%. So really strong moves. Persistent Systems 4%. So that was the order of the day. In between, L&T Infotech, by the way, the other one, and you will hear the management tomorrow at 9:30 on BloombergQuint, but up about 7.5% for that one too. So as a pocket, I think these two did really well. Selectively, we had some other names, the likes of Balrampur Chini, for example, which did okay. I think this whole ethanol move from moving up, if indeed the pricing does happen that way, would actually work for all of these companies like Balrampur Chini, which are much well-managed sugar companies. And therefore, I think that stock too had a reasonable outing. What didn't do well? Future retail down about 5. Like I was saying, specialty chemicals, not necessarily all of them. Deepak Nitrite, for example, last week was at about 870. It shaved off 100 rupees. It's a company in the right space, but 100 rupees from the peak in the last 7 days tells you a story. Vinati Organics 1223 from about 1370, 1380. So a lot of these stocks have come off, I must say, ahead of the numbers. Is the market suspecting something that we don't know about? Don't know. And of course, also what came off today were names like Thyrocare Technologies, which has had a bumper last few days, and IEX or Indian Energy Exchange, as you can see on your list, down about 4% at about 196. So that's the long and short of what happened. The point being that even though the Nifty stayed up, the market breadth wasn't the most positive. 2:3 in favor of the declines, and it tells you about a broader market nervousness. Now, before we talk about the trade takeaway, as you can see, 205 advancing to 294 declining. Now, before we talk about the takeaways, just a brief look at what the world markets are doing too. Europe will come up on your screen, and you will just see what the global markets are up to in the session today. I think Asia was not quite participative. It had an iffy kind of a morning, the Asian bourses, but Europe and US could be different kettles of fish. So Europe, for example, has an uptick of about 0.5%, which is actually not a bad. I mean, by and large, about 0.5% kind of a move for European indices. So that's actually good going for them. And as I saw last, the Nasdaq futures are up about 0.5%. So the global markets have a good tailwind to themselves. Let's wait and watch if that continues. Now, viewers, keep in mind, what does all of this mean? Well, we have sectors with tailwinds doing well. We have banks in a good spot. Reliance Industries is not doing all that bad. And if the global markets are okay, then there's no reason for longs to panic. Sure, we will have corrective moves for sure. But we've crossed an important channel of 11,500 or 11,650 and moved up higher. Now we are maybe the next resistance this could be 11,900 or 12,000. So until then, maybe bulls don't have to worry too much. As I said, there is a global market tailwind any which ways at our end, and which is actually helping. So for now, the going is okay. Tomorrow will be a new day. And mind you, today IT had a good move, but it's not like TCS or Infosys had a bumper rally. And we probably have some spate of good news lined up in the next few days with the results coming out from the others, if Wipro manages to put in a guidance, if Infosys manages to raise the guidance, then you actually have continuation of good news from the IT vendors, which could actually help the case for this space. So do watch out for all of these names over the course of the next few days. But be mindful, earnings season is coming up, and after last quarter's margin surprise, this time around, margins may not necessarily be a surprise. So that is something that all of us need to bear for. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Market Wrap.